to win the series. And obviously, remember, the Celtics opened as minus 900 favorite to beat the Knicks. Not only that, the Knicks are the favorite to win the East, but to make it to the NBA Finals. So here's what I want to know. Would it be a disappointment now, UD, if the Knicks don't reach the Finals?
No, not to me. I'm not guaranteeing.
You're nuts.
I'm not guaranteeing that they don't go to the finals. I'm not. They got to still go through Indiana or whoever wins that series. I'm not just finna say just because they beat Boston. And the Knicks didn't come here and go to training camp and put that team together just to beat Boston in the second round. They put that team together to win a championship. They still have to play either Indiana or Cleveland. And last year, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana beat them. Yes, Cleveland had. New York had some injuries. But Indiana beat them. And what we're going to do is we're going to give Indiana their flowers. I know they're a small market team, but they're playing good basketball. And they're not a team that we're just going to say the Knicks just going to run over and go to the finals if they beat Boston. I don't agree with that.
I would say this. Typically, I would agree with you. But the question is it a disappointment if the Knicks do not reach the finals? And here, let me tell you why it is. Because Indiana beat them last year in the Eastern Conference semifinals in Game 7 when Tyrese Halliburton had 26 points and they shot 68% from the field.
Yes.
So regardless of injuries, they got punked in that Game 7. And defense is something that Tibbs has always prided himself on. What did we see them do last night, Big Perk? We saw a team last night, and their strategy was, hey, we're going to switch every pick and roll.
Yes.
We're going to be patient, and we're going to bait them into taking threes. Nobody else on Boston's team got into a rhythm outside of Jason Tatum in that entire game. Derek White maybe in the first quarter, but after that, everybody else felt dead silent, and they stayed with the game plan constantly. So, yeah, I think it would be a disappointment if they got by Boston and then the team that beat them last year, that beat up on them in Game 7, that they didn't step up to the plate and get that win to get to the NBA Finals.
Big Perk?
I'm with Jay Will on this one, UD. Hell yes, it's a disappointment. Matter of fact, the Knicks, after they close this series out, they going to the NBA Finals.
Oh, hell no.
Now, I think Indiana's going to push them to 7 games, but I'm looking at a Knicks team that didn't they go 7 games last year?
Yes, they did.
They went 7 games last year, right? Wasn't the Knicks banged up?
Yeah.
OG Anunoby dealing with a hamstring. Jalen Brunson playing on 1 foot.
Yep.
Josh Hart, when he tore his abdominal. And all of a sudden, now you bring in Karl Anthony Towns. You bring in Mikal Bridges. You just knocked off the defending champs. And you mean to tell me you make it to the NBA? Look, they going to the NBA Finals, man. Once they close out the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks are headed to the NBA championship. And I'm going to take it a step further.
Uh-oh.
I wouldn't be surprised if they win it all, to be honest with you.
Man.
I mean,
Wait. Perk, hold on. I got to pump the brakes
What,
on
Mom?
that. No, here's why I want to pump the brakes, just to you specifically, because you were so high on OKC.
But I never had OKC winning it all. I have OKC coming out of the Western Conference. And guess what? That's not going to be easy for OKC. Not the way Minnesota, Ant-Man and Julius Randle is playing right now.
Yeah.
That's not going to – and OKC got to get past Denver, which I believe they will.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is the Knicks have opened up everyone's eyes. I already believed in them, but they didn't took it another step. And what I'm saying is, who on this panel right now, including you, Molly, if the Knicks happen to match up with OKC or match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves in the NBA Finals, you mean to tell me y'all saying they couldn't win that series?
I mean, I'm not counting out the Knicks in the final 5 minutes of any game.
I am not taking nothing away from what the New York Knicks have accomplished. But what I will not do is just say they're going to win the finals. You got to give credit where credit's due. The game got to be played, and the game is played in between the lines, not between us at the table. The game is played in between the lines. So
Tell me this. So how do they match up against the Pacers?
Well, the Pacers like to run. They get up and down. It's a fast-paced game, so they're going to run like they always do. The Pacers not going to change how they play. They're going to get up and down. They're going to play fast-paced. They're going to get the ball out. Even though it makes, they're going to run the ball. So it's going to be tough. Now, what I will say is the Knicks made the moves. They went and got Mikal Bridges. They got wing defenders, so they can switch things.
Yeah.
They can take you out of offense. They can flatten you out. Once again, like they did last night, making sure only one guy scores the ball, take the other 4 guys out. So the moves that they made, the defensive moves that they made, will help combat that. But I still say the game is played in between the lines.
Jalen Brunson's injured. Donovan Mitchell, not Jalen Brunson. I'm sorry. Jason Tatum's injured. Donovan Mitchell's injured. It feels like the path has opened up for them.
Still got to play the game, Ollie.
It has.
They gotta play the game.
I'm not going to count Indiana either.
Yes.
Just because of how they were there last year, how Tyrese Halliburton wasn't his full self either last year. So look, we talk about this all the time, UD and KP. Everybody has injuries. Yes. How do you manage those injuries when it matters the most? And health plays into this whole thing. So look, I think that could be a series that can go 6 or 7. I would probably have the New York Knicks favored slightly, but Indiana can easily win that series. I think that's the beauty about where we are right now. Everybody in this season had Boston and Cleveland making it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And now look at the situation.
Yes.
Basketball's in good hands.
Absolutely. Perk, here's what I want to know as we're talking about these injuries. What impact will Tatum's injury have on the Celtics' big picture moving forward? Because people are already saying they couldn't keep this roster intact. They have new ownership now. And then obviously now the news of last night.
I mean, Molly, let me say this. First of all, praying that Tatum have a speedy recovery or whatever it is, when the reports come out that he's dealing with, know the young fella go get back on the floor as quick as he possibly can. Hate it for him. He definitely was balling last night before that injury, okay? But I don't know where the Boston Celtics go from here because I believe at this point they damn near spending about, in total salary and contracts, they starting 5 with Kristaps Porzingis in it. It's about $800 to $900 million. So, Molly, I don't know where they go from here. To be honest with you, I know that there's nowhere in hell a new ownership group is going to keep this team together. I'm not saying they're going to break up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but you got to look at Kristaps Porzingis. You got to look and see what's going on with Drew Holiday, right? You can't keep you can't keep all of these guys. And that's, again, but this is why it's so important. And I get it. You can't control health and what happens between the lines for as injuries. But when you have an opportunity to win a championship, man, you got to maximize that. You shouldn't have any regrets. And I thought the Celtics eased into this series, took this for granted, blew 2 games at home that they probably should have won, and they're going to regret this later on in their career. I'm telling you, and I've been wanting to get UD on here because I wanted to ask him about this. Is it me? Is I'm the only one? But, I think about the NBA championships I didn't win when I went to the NBA Finals more than I actually think about the one that I won.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I still lose sleep over the ones that I didn't win and the seasons that I didn't have an opportunity to go to the finals. But what I will say is the future for a team who we said would probably be going to the finals. And I remember meeting with Joe Mazzulla after they won last year, and the first thing he did was point up and say, we got room for another one in those Raptors. So they had already set that tone. So for a team who we thought would probably be in the finals for the next 2 or 3 years, just drastically, and we talked about this earlier, that picture changes.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about an injury, and we don't know what it is, but when you talk about an injury, what we've seen as basketball players or what it could possibly be, that's a 6 to 8 to 9 month thing. And as basketball players, you, Perk, know this, and Jay Will, you know this as well. It's a difference between when you can come back and then when you get to the level where you were at before you got hurt. That's a whole nother level. So before they get that Jason Tatum back that we saw last night that had 29 points in the third quarter without shooting any free throws, we're talking about looking at another year at least before he gets back to that level. That changes everything when you talk about championship expectations and having championship coaches.
It's crazy to think about a team that literally in seconds goes from a championship contender to then transitioning to a rebuild.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's what we're talking about here, right? Yeah. We're talking about having a fire sale. And I talk about the fire sale with some of the older players. So Al Horford, 38 years old. Drew Holiday, 34 years old. Porzingis is about to turn 30, KP, but it feels like he's the 38, 39-year-old 40 with all the injuries and all the stuff he's been battling, right? So, look, you can make a case that the only person that you try to keep intact with this roster is a guy like Derek White for his versatility that he can bring to the table. And if you want to keep together Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I'm fine with that. But it almost feels like you need to let go of these rotational players, give Jason Tatum the time to do rehab. Yes. Next year is what next year is, to a degree, and try to rebuild with players that can all defend and all shoot that fit into the Joe Mazzulla style of play. But that's the reality of where this team is because of hitting the second apron and just where they are with some of their older players in the roster.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Lại là mình đây. Mình lại là mình sẽ gửi đến các bạn những sản phẩm cắt dán đẹp hơn mỗi ngày, những sản phẩm tuyệt vời. Đấy, cốc trà sữa này, đây trên tay của mình đây là keo dán giấy này các bạn ạ. Và để tạo ra được những sản phẩm để tạo ra được những video cắt dán đẹp như thế này thì mình sẽ cần có những dụng cụ, những đồ vật để mình tạo nên. Đây trước mặt của mình đây, trên tay mình đang cầm đây là những giấy thủ công màu các bạn ạ. Nó rất nhiều màu sắc luôn, các bạn có nhìn thấy màu sắc của nó. Đấy. Trên tay của mình đây cầm này, màu xanh này, màu xanh là lá cây, màu vàng này các bạn ạ. Đây là màu đỏ. Đấy. Giấy màu cam này, giấy màu xanh này. Đấy. Mình rất nhiều những sản phẩm màu sắc. Đấy. Và để tạo ra được những sản phẩm đẹp và ý nghĩa thì mình cần có một cây bút và chiếc kéo này, kéo để cắt này, hồ dán để dán những sản phẩm vào với nhau để cho nó đa dạng màu sắc, để tạo nên điểm nhấn cho sản phẩm. Và còn những dụng cụ bổ trợ cho mình như là đây là chiếc chân kẹp điện thoại, đây chiếc điện thoại để mình quay lại quá trình mình tạo ra video, đèn hỗ trợ ánh sáng này các bạn này, đèn hỗ trợ ánh sáng. Và kênh của mình thì cũng rất may mắn đã nhận được nút bạc từ YouTube các bạn này. Trên nút bạc này mình cũng đã nhận được quãng thời gian gần đây rồi. Đó là thành quả của mình nhá, thành quả rất chi là mỹ mãn các bạn này. Khi mình tạo ra những sản phẩm thật là viral đây. Sau khi mình cắt dán xong video, mình sẽ tải video lên máy tính của mình nha. Trên máy tính của mình thì có phần mềm Camtasia để chỉnh sửa. Mình sẽ ưu tiên chỉnh sửa trên Camtasia. Sau khi mình edit và chỉnh sửa xong thì mình sẽ xuất ra thôi, xuất ra và đăng lên kênh cho các bạn xem. Các bạn hãy chào đón những video đẹp và tuyệt vời để gửi tặng tất cả các bạn nha. Đấy. Đấy, trời. Đây. Đấy. Đây là lọ hồ dán này. Đấy. Phải không? Sẵn luôn. Và bây giờ mình sẽ mời các bạn đi xem mình tạo ra những sản phẩm này nha. Đây những sản phẩm tiêu biểu của mình này, mình vẫn còn lưu trữ lại tại nơi làm việc này. Đó. Rất chi là đẹp. Các bạn hãy cùng theo dõi mình tạo ra sản phẩm nha.
Ăn xong hai thằng này làm chân chưa? Quay video, quay tay.
Nhưng mà em đi học thì anh ơi.
Không đi học á?
Kem này.
Hai thằng
này đưa đúng không? Anh thìa lấy đũa làm cái gì? Anh bọn kia đúng không?